The sound of massive explosions echoes as flames devour the castle whole. Most of the servants are burned alive inside, while those who manage to escape, screaming in agony as the fire consumes them, find no rescue waiting, only fate itself. Masked soldiers slaughter them without mercy, scattered everywhere throughout the grounds. Every resident of the castle becomes either a body with swords piercing through their bellies or corpses scattered across the ground, their faces frozen in the most horrific pain. The only sound of resistance is the clashing of steel. One of the masked soldiers fights a nobleman with long jet black hair and blood-red eyes. Despite being pushed back under the masked warrior's relentless assault, he still clings to his last chance at survival, knowing full well he's losing this battle. Our story begins in the Ragnar clan, the Grand Duke's family that has guarded the empire at the northernmost edge of the continent. They've been the Wall of the North for over 1,000 years. The source of their overwhelming power lies in the family's special constitution. They inherited dragon's blood. Everyone born from Ragnar bloodline is blessed with overwhelming physical strength and crushing talent in both magic and swordsmanship. Everyone without exception, except for the illegitimate son, Theo Ragnar. Suddenly, a sword cuts through him from shoulder to stomach, a fatal wound. He drops to his knees, head falling forward as blood pours from his belly. The masked figure approaches slowly, speaking coldly about how even at the end, Theo will never learn that there are things that can't be achieved no matter how much effort you put in, especially for someone like him who is completely devoid of talent. He begins removing his mask while mocking further, pointing out that despite being from the Ragnar bloodline, Theo didn't inherit a single shred of talent. From beneath the mask appears an adult with sharp features, white hair, and mocking eyes. Theo freezes in shock, unable to believe his eyes. It's his master who taught him swordsmanship, Rendon. He questions why he would do this. Rendon continues his mockery, saying that watching him train tirelessly every morning despite lacking any talent was truly a pitiful sight, especially when hard work would never get him anywhere. He starts laughing hysterically at Theo, declaring that the title Ragnar's Fool was perfect for him. He says Theo should have just hidden himself away as a talentless waste, adding that it was hilarious watching him struggle and struggle, trying to make something of himself. Theo grits his teeth, drives his sword into the ground to support himself, and screams in rage despite his wounds, calling Rendon a bastard, accusing Rendon of becoming his sword instructor to teach him useless techniques, just so he could sell out the Rose Palace to these people. Suddenly, Theo's hand flies through the air with a swift swing of Rendon's blade. He freezes from the pain and falls to the side as blood spurts everywhere. Rendon stands casually, sighing and questioning why Theo is blaming him. He grabs Theo by the hair, lifting him from the ground with a wide smile, asking why Theo can't see it. Theo slowly opens his eyes, blood flooding them as Rendon forces him to watch. Rendon demands that Theo look and asks why the Rose Palace is burning, why his family members are dying. Another person drags a woman by her hair without resistance, approaches, and throws her in front of Theo. Rendon continues, questioning why Theo's mother was slaughtered like cattle. Theo, who maintained his composure throughout his entire life, even in the face of death, sees his mother's lifeless body thrown before him. Rendon continues his humiliation while holding him by the hair, explaining that all of this happened because Theo was Ragnar's fool. In a clan ruled by the strong, Theo was the weakest. Theo remains in denial as Rendon smiles with intense pleasure, savoring every detail of Theo's face, his joy at watching him break. Quickly, Theo pulls out a sword and surprises Rendon with a final attack, but suddenly a flying sword comes from afar, piercing through Theo's stomach, throwing him backward. A masked figure in white robes tells Rendon that he talks too much and should shut up already. Rendon bows immediately and apologizes for the delay, explaining that he was just reminiscing about some moments from the past and is almost finished. Theo lies there as flames and blood scatter before his eyes. He hears Rendon's words as his thoughts race, questioning if this is really how it ends after all this humiliation and frustration. A final tear begins forming in his eye as he thinks about talent, wishing he had possessed something like that. Darkness begins swallowing the light of fires and explosions as his last tear falls. He wonders if things would have been different before he dies. Suddenly, blinding light swallows the darkness and a wooden sword attacks Theo, stopping just before hitting his face directly. Rendon stands before Theo, noticing he's not focused and commenting that Theo seems tired. He says it's fine and they can end today's lesson. Theo finds himself in the training yard, standing in shock, not aware of what's happening. Rendon continues with a mocking voice, pointing out that Theo is very distracted. Theo stands holding the wooden sword, not comprehending, questioning to himself what is happening and whether he just died. After thinking for a while, he realizes his life must be flashing before his eyes. Rendon tries to get his attention, calling out to him, but Theo isn't with him at all. Theo gets extremely annoyed seeing Rendon before him and thinks about how death is so cruel that even in his final moments, the face he remembers is this bastard's face. But when Theo looks down, he finds a screen in front of him with Tutorial Quest 1 written on it, showing details about the person standing before him, Rendon. The same Rendon who killed him 5 minutes ago. Theo is in a state of shock, questioning the tutorial quest about beating up Rendon. He's surprised and gets angrier, wondering what the hell this is and whether this is how memories of the past are supposed to work. He keeps moving his gaze between Rendon and the message, realizing that Rendon can't see this message. Rendon stands there, seeing Theo acting strangely, so he asks what's wrong. Theo throws the wooden staff on the ground, talking to himself that he doesn't know what's happening, but maybe this is a gift from fate, giving him a chance to get rid of his frustrations before he goes. He gathers all his strength in his hand and raises it with full force. And suddenly his fist is buried in Rendon's face, the entire courtyard watching. Rendon stands without moving, nothing happening to him. Theo questions why this dream is so realistic. Rendon gets very angry and raises his hand with all his strength, landing a powerful punch in Theo's stomach that throws him 3 or 4 meters back, loudly declaring that he believes he said the lesson is over. Theo gets up from the ground, surprised and amazed, wondering to himself whether he's supposed to feel pain in a dream. Rendon sighs and tells him that he understands Theo's frustration. He points out that the awakening ceremony is approaching quickly, yet Theo sees no progress despite his efforts. At this moment, Theo remembers in shock about the awakening ceremony. Rendon continues, saying that even so, he cannot forgive a student who attacks his master. He adds that also, as a member of the Ragnar family, Theo should have used a sword instead of his fist. He announces he'll see Theo at the next lesson and starts walking away. Theo speaks in confusion, questioning what's happening here. His colleagues at the training center whisper, calling him a fool and questioning why he's blaming his master when he's a talentless fool. They ask if he's really from the Ragnar family, calling him incompetent even for an illegitimate child, and commenting on how little he can do despite all the work he's put in. Theo hears all this, frozen in place, unable to speak or move. He gathers his strength and touches the sand on the ground, finally starting to grasp reality. He thinks to himself that he can't believe this, the clear pain he's feeling now and this sensation are real. He realizes these aren't memories, this is reality. Suddenly, he remembers Rendon's words about the awakening ceremony, which was 10 years ago. He questions whether this means he's returned to when he was 17 years old. He looks at the sky, not believing himself, questioning how this is possible. He lowers his head to the screen and finds a message congratulating him, announcing that he has successfully completed Tutorial Quest 1, and that as a reward, Ragnar's talent has been activated. Theo expresses extreme surprise. The screen asks whether he will receive the reward now. Theo moves his finger toward the screen and presses yes. Suddenly he feels magic wrapping around him and a strange beam emerging from his chest. A new screen appears, announcing that all his stats will now increase at a tremendous rate. He sees the beam intensifying and doesn't understand what's happening, what the hell this is. We then go to a place called the Rose Palace, a large, luxurious palace, a true architectural masterpiece. Inside, Rendon is talking with someone while drinking tea, admitting that, to be honest, he's never seen someone so devoid of talent. Then his tone changes and declares that's why he's here. The true master, Rendon, will teach him the best he can, and promises to make Theo strong enough to attend the awakening ceremony in at least 5 months. A lady of exquisite beauty agrees and says she'll leave Theo to Rendon. The woman speaking is Cecilia Ragnar, Lady of the Rose Palace and Theo's mother. She continues while giving Rendon a bag of gold, asking him to please give Theo more attention. Rendon assures her that, of course, he plans to teach him day and night and she shouldn't worry. Cecilia responds that she's not worried because she believes in Theo. They finish talking and Rendon exits, walking down the corridor talking to himself that Cecilia should be worried. He admits that even though he's not teaching Theo properly, Theo completely lacks talent. He then opens the bag, finding lots of gold, thinking about the exceptional pay and the title of being an instructor for one of the direct descendants of the Ragnar bloodline as a reward for revealing information about Theo and interfering with his growth. That person who orchestrated all this secured his future. It seems like Ragnar's fool will be his benefactor. He then sees Theo running in the corridor toward the room he just left. He wonders what's wrong with this fool. Not knowing why he's running, he mocks him, calling him a pathetic loser, then leaves and walks away. Theo reaches the end of the corridor at the room where Cecilia is, finding her standing with a servant. He calls her loudly, "Mother." Cecilia replies, "Son." Then she notes that he must be tired from today's training too. She's surprised why he came running to her and calling loudly. Without thinking, Theo tightly hugs his mother. Cecilia is shocked by what Theo did, stuttering and questioning why he's doing this. She's surprised why he did that. Theo can't believe that she's truly returned. She's alive and standing before him. He regains his senses and tells himself that he must change the future no matter the cost. He's weak with nothing to his name now, but vows to become the strongest. Strong enough to fight that bloody war for the throne, and strong enough to take revenge on every single one of them. His screen appears with Tutorial Quest 2, Train Your Body to the Maximum, 0%. He's ready to start Tutorial Quest 2. The day ends and Theo immediately starts training alone with no one at the training yard. He wants revenge on Rendon badly but can't do anything with this weak body. He needs to focus on becoming stronger first so he can get his revenge. He remembers his memories from 10 years ago when he was at the intelligence agency, the Black Word. He recalls that he was transferred to the information team because he lacked skill, but never expected he'd use the information he gathered this way. Among the information he remembers very well is the Blood Sword Emperor's Elixir, a potion that greatly strengthens the body, though no one knows its importance yet. Its value will be discovered in the future. He continues talking to himself about the intensive training he gave up on due to his lack of talent. He's very happy with all the advantages now in his hands, declaring that they're all possible now because he has Ragnar's talent. Morning comes and his colleagues at the training center starting to enter one after another, surprised to see Theo training. He looks stronger than yesterday. One of them questions how many laps he's done without rest. Another is surprised, asking if he was always this fit. All this while Theo continues with the same intensity without stopping, training and telling himself that he'll swing his sword like he's never swung it before, declaring that then he can become truly strong this time. It's clear Theo knows exactly what he's doing and isn't wasting any time. After a few days, Theo continues training without stopping for a single second. But there is someone who's keeping an eye on him for the moment. The training yard manager, 4th Division Commander Evelyn Nerval, watching him from above, saying to herself that he's been training without sleep for several days now. Surprised how someone called Ragnar's fool is killing himself in training, she asks herself whether he's really as talentless as they say. Theo continues training to his limit, but at this rate, he's going to die. At this moment, the screen appears again, showing 97%. Theo had to train his body to its absolute limits. Yesterday, when he took a little break to catch his breath, the progress on the screen started dropping. He was shocked. It had only been pushing him to not stop until the end. Theo keeps training non-stop as the percentage gradually increases on the screen to 98%. He encourages himself that he's about to reach it, just a little more. He continues pushing to the max. And finally, the screen appears, 100%, congratulating him, announcing that he has successfully completed Tutorial Quest 2. Before he can read the rest of the messages, he collapses on the ground from extreme exhaustion. Another message appears on the screen asking whether he will receive the reward now. He barely moves his finger and presses yes. The same strange beam starts emerging from him with the screen showing that the reward has been received, but he loses consciousness before seeing what will happen. All this while Evelyn watches, shocked by what she's witnessing. Theo wakes up the next day finding himself on a bed in a strange room, questioning what this is. He tries to get up from the bed. That's when Evelyn is entering the room, telling him not to worry. She explains that this is the rest room in training yard 4 and that even a Ragnar descendant will collapse if you push yourself like that. Theo is surprised to see her, Evelyn. Evelyn didn't expect that he knows her and introduces herself as Training Yard 4 Manager Evelyn Nerval. She explains that he lost consciousness while training alone this morning, so she brought him here for now. Theo replies with serious eyes, feeling something is wrong, acknowledging this and thanking her. She stands silent. Evelyn gives him a glass of water to drink and reminds him that within the Ragnar clan, opening your mana hall before the awakening ceremony is forbidden. She asks if he knows that. Theo is silent for a moment, then confirms that of course he knows. Evelyn continues, asking if he also knows what will happen if he violates this rule. Theo asks her, very surprised, why she's suddenly asking him this. Evelyn replies that right before he lost consciousness, a mana wave occurred that corresponds with opening a mana hall. At this moment, Theo is shocked by what Evelyn is saying and feels worried. With a threatening tone, she asks whether he perhaps opened his mana hall. Theo feels he's fallen into trouble, not knowing where Evelyn got this from, thinking to himself what she means by his mana hall and that if he did that, he wouldn't be alive. Suddenly, he remembers yesterday before losing consciousness, the words that appeared on the screen announcing that he has received Dragon Heart as a reward, and as an additional reward for quick completion, he has received 10 years of magical power from his past life. Theo is shocked by the rank of the reward. He can't believe he actually got a Dragon Heart. A mana hall can be placed inside a dragon's heart, and being in the heart makes it work more efficiently. But humans don't have the physical strength of dragons, so they place it in their lower abdomen because their hearts can't handle the mana. That's why warriors like the Ragnars long for a dragon heart. Though it's an easy way to become overwhelmingly strong, they couldn't overcome their human limitations. And now, this dragon heart has been granted to him. Quest rewards are truly amazing. He's happy he has become strong thanks to the rewards, but remembers the situation he's in now. Theo starts remembering Evelyn's character, the high-ranking duelist Evelyn Nerville. He recalls that she retired after losing her left arm and became Training Yard 4 manager. But before that, she was the commander of the White Armored Dragon Knights. She was so skilled, so much that the demonic dragon of the White Armored Dragon Knights adored her. But also, she was known as someone extremely committed to her principles. Theo knows how much Evelyn is a person of conscience and principles, ready to enforce punishment on anyone who breaks the rules, even if they're a Ragnar heir. He feels more and more the danger of the situation he's in. In other words, if she finds out about his Dragon Heart Mana Hall, he'll be executed immediately. But he's going to try turning the tables on her. He asks whether she can handle the consequences. He points out that she's talking about executing him immediately just because of her momentary feeling and questions if she can deal with the consequences. Theo realizes he can use this against her if she can't catch evidence on him. He continues, reminding her that he's also a Ragnar heir and that if her suspicions are baseless and wrong, this could be taken as desecrating the Ragnar name. Evelyn replies without hesitation, confirming that yes, that is the rules. Theo goes with a serious and threatening tone, asking her whether she knows what the punishment is for humiliating an heir. She immediately answers that it's execution. He then tells her good she knows, then orders her to go ahead and check. Evelyn is in a moment of shock and fear, thinking to herself what this feeling is and questioning if he was always this type of person. She knows that was definitely a mana wave, and that even if he's from the Ragnar bloodline, rules are rules with no exceptions. She extends her hands toward Theo's abdomen. Then a strange beam emerges from her hands to examine Theo, whether it was really a mana wave or not. But Evelyn is surprised that he doesn't have a hall, talking to herself that this isn't possible and questioning if she was wrong. Theo, with the same tone, asks her whether there's a mana hall. Evelyn drops to her knees on the ground immediately in complete submission, asking him to please execute her. She admits it seems she was wrong and declares she'll pay for her sin with her humble life. Theo thinks to himself that there can't be one because a mana hall in a dragon's heart can be freely controlled by the user. In other words, he can control its appearance or not according to his will. And the fact that humans can possess a dragon's heart will only be revealed a few years from now, so she'd never think he has a dragon heart. Theo raises his hand while Evelyn surrenders to her fate, waiting for him to execute her. But she's surprised when Theo pats her, telling her that she only did what she had to do. He tries to gain her trust, acknowledging that there aren't many who would risk their lives to demand the truth from an heir. He thinks to himself that Evelyn is one of the strongest and it'll be in his interest if she becomes indebted to him. He continues with her, pointing out that, moreover, the reason for restricting opening mana halls before the opening ceremony is concern about mana hall overflow that threatens a person's life. Then he speaks while looking at her, saying that for her to worry that he, the Ragnar's fool, might have his mana hall overflow somehow makes him happy. He starts leaving the room, bidding her farewell and thanking her for taking care of him. He leaves her and walks away while she's still in place, surprised by what happened. Theo walks down the corridor trying to hide his excitement, thinking about Dragon Heart and 10 years of magical power from his past life. He declares that he can become overwhelmingly strong in this life. After a few days, Theo is standing in the training yard in front of Rendon, who's yelling at him that no, that's not it and he needs to swing a little more to the right. and asks how many times he must tell him this. He's constantly giving him hell and making his life miserable. He ignores him all this time, not responding, telling himself that it's nice to become stronger, but pretending to be weak while listening to Rendon's teachings is difficult. He realizes that Rendon, that bastard, is deliberately teaching him strange sword techniques, while Rendon shouts to make it more like a right angle. Theo concludes that there's a mastermind behind Rendon's actions. He remembers from his past life the person who killed him, deciding his first goal is that he must know their identity. But suddenly an idea comes to him. He can do this now. He calls Rendon, who replies in a serious tone that chatting during lessons is forbidden. Theo shifts instantly, angrily breaking the wooden sword in half, and says that he can't listen to Rendon's lesson anymore because it's just garbage, and questions how Rendon became a mid-rank duelist with this level of skill. Rendon is shocked at how he's speaking to him and asks him to repeat that again. Theo analyzes the situation further, talking to himself that the mission Rendon received must have been to pretend to be his teacher in order to monitor him. He responds to Rendon that he feels like Rendon would struggle even against low-ranked demonic beasts. Then he declares war, asking if Rendon is deaf and stating that his skills are absolute garbage. Rendon raises his voice, shouting Theo's name. Theo thinks that if things go wrong with him, Rendon will be forced to contact the mastermind. In another huge palace called the Camellia, someone opens a door calling at the top of his voice, asking Axion if he heard what happened, that the Ragnar's fool will have a duel with his master next week. He continues, explaining that it seems that he was blaming his teacher for his lack of talent. He might become half-crippled after the duel. Suddenly, Axion throws his glass in the person's face, knocking him unconscious immediately. He questions why he should care if the bastard becomes half-crippled. His name is Axion Ragnar, nicknamed the Dark Tiger and a member of the Four Hounds of the North. The person next to him is Remington Narriso, the Silver Lion and a member of the Four Hounds of the North. Someone enters the room telling them that he should care because things might get worse if they let their guard down. This is Eid Troivan, Sky Dragon and a member of the Nine Dragons. Remington bows respectfully to him while Axion replies mockingly, nodding that that's only true with people who have talent, and tells his uncle that he's worrying too much. Eid is Axion's uncle. Axion asks why he is worried about that bastard. Eid Troivan replies that with Ragnar, unprecedented things can happen even from the slightest probability. He looks at the candle lighting the place and observes that a flame in the wind can glow at any time. Action replies that anyway, this is good because that instructor will take care of it for them. A week later, the training yard is completely full of people who came to watch the duel between Theo and Rendon. Among them is Evelyn standing watching, but there's also a mysterious person watching from afar in silence. Theo and Rendon prepare to start the duel. Theo just wanted to drive Rendon away after humiliating him, but things got out of control. He's already facing reality, so he has to deal with it. The screen suddenly appears before him showing Tutorial Quest 3, Fight Rendon and Defeat Him. A week before the duel, specifically in the training yard, there was a heated argument between the two in the yard with everyone watching. Theo just wanted to fire him, so he tells Rendon that he's saying his skills are garbage and that he is fired, and demands Rendon to get out of his sight. Rendon gets very angry, protesting that he cannot accept this. There's still a lot of time left on his contract. Theo replies mockingly, "What about the contract? If the employer says he is fired, that's it." When Theo thinks about his past life, he wants to beat Rendon to death immediately. But he knows he's currently weak and doesn't have enough skills yet. He plans to himself first that he'll separate himself from Rendon and get more information about him. Rendon is very angry and can't believe what Theo said, talking to himself that no, if he's fired this way, his mission will end in failure. He determines that he must convince Theo somehow. He tries to make Theo take back his words, asking him to please wait and protesting that this goes against the rules, and he reports this to the court. At this moment, a screen pops up in front of Theo. Tutorial Quest 3, Fight Rendon and Defeat Him. Theo, in a state of shock, wonders what this means. He can't even do this. That's when Evelyn enters to end the argument, suggesting that they do this the Ragnar way. Rendon is surprised by Evelyn's interruption. Theo asks if, by the Ragnar way, she means the rule of the strong. Evelyn continues, proposing that they decide this based on a sword match. She points out there's no need to exaggerate and go to court, saying they just need to follow the winner's will. Rendon thinks that this is divine help and agrees that it's a great idea. Evelyn tells them that the duel will be a week from today and asks if that's all right. Theo stands shocked at the situation Evelyn put him in, telling himself that of course it's not all right. What she's even saying, he can't even beat Rendon. A week later, the moment of truth arrives. The audience is watching and talking about Theo. How could he do this? Has he gone crazy or what? Two people are chattering. One says that, from what he heard, Theo can't even swing his sword properly yet. The other replies that that's impossible, questioning if Theo isn't at least from the Ragnar bloodline. The first tells him that he wouldn't say that if he is a normal Ragnar, but Theo is Ragnar's fool, and there's no way he can beat a mid-rank duelist. In the fighting arena, Rendon mockingly wants to finish this quickly and humiliate Theo to make him go back to how he was. He tells Theo that if he apologizes now, Rendon can treat this as if nothing happened, nodding there's no need to risk his life for his pride. Theo replies confidently that that's what he should be saying to Rendon. He warns that if Rendon doesn't want to become a one-armed duelist, it would be best for him to accept being fired. Rendon is surprised by Theo's attitude. He was thinking of letting it slide once because Theo is pitiful, but this won't do. He determines that he must kill Theo while pretending it's a mistake, reflecting that this reality is better. He tells Theo to come at him first, saying that as his teacher he can accept the first strike. Theo attacks Rendon with all his strength, declaring that then he won't say no, and the duel begins. The loud sound of clashing swords is heard, and the audience is shocked by Theo's audacity to attack. Rendon blocks Theo's strike, and the audience is amazed, commenting to look at that and nodding that as expected the fool is losing. He really doesn't even know how to swing a sword, and that at this rate he might really die. Rendon asks Theo what happened. He can't do anything against a mid-rank swordsman he was looking down on. He thinks while attacking Theo that this is the obvious result. He reflects that Theo Ragnar isn't even a low-rank duelist but a beginner. Recently, maybe Theo's skills improved a little strangely, but it's not enough. He considers that if Theo were at least at the level of the Four Hounds of the North, that would be a different story, but it's impossible for Ragnar's fool to defeat him. A week ago, after Evelyn broke up the argument between the two, Theo went to her room and demanded to know what she was thinking when she suggested the match. Evelyn replies that she was helping him. She explains that if he wants to get rid of Rendon, he needs to be precise about it. It seems Rendon has someone backing him, so just firing him won't solve this problem. Theo is surprised, questioning how Evelyn knew. Evelyn answers that she noticed Rendon is teaching him a strange sword style, and had someone investigate him secretly. Evelyn didn't know this in his past life, so Theo wonders if this is because he attracted her attention due to the Mana Hall incident. Evelyn continues, revealing that from her investigation, all of Rendon's traces lead to Camellia Palace. Theo shudders as soon as he hears her words, thinking about Camellia Palace. Was all this death because of that miserable fight for the throne? Theo tells her that it's surprising she discovered all this, but with his skills, he still can't beat Rendon yet. He questions what she'll do now. Evelyn tells him that just 1 week, if she personally trains him for 1 week, he'll easily be able to suppress someone like Rendon. She adds that while ignoring one's teacher goes against the rules, Rendon doesn't have this right anyway, after all. Theo hears her words amazed. To think things would go this way, it was worth making Evelyn indebted to him. Anyway, he needs to confirm. He asks her what her reason is for going this far to help him and questions whether it was because of what happened last time. Evelyn replies that that's part of it, but there's someone she knows who would like Theo. The duel intensifies with mockery and ridicule of Theo growing. Rendon tells him while pouncing on him that if he kneels now and begs, he might forgive him. He goes with all his strength, striking with the sword. But the complete opposite of what's expected happens. From the start of the duel, Theo has been dodging Rendon's strikes, but this time he blocks the strike and starts attacking him. Rendon starts to worry, telling himself that something's wrong. This isn't the Theo Ragnar he knows, how his skills have grown to this extent. Everyone is surprised by Theo's advanced level and are wondering what's happening, nodding that it looks like he's defending properly and has really pushed back. Evelyn is very happy with Theo's level and what she's seeing. Rendon is amazed. How Theo developed in such a strange way in such a short time, telling himself that from the beginning Theo didn't have talent, so how is this possible? He wonders if maybe he had it all along and was acting like a fool, but why? Theo suddenly asks Rendon an unexpected question about who is the person backing him. Rendon is surprised by the question and delivers a strike whose force, when Theo blocks it, pushes him back a distance, demanding to know what Theo means by backing him. Theo asks if he thought he wasn't aware he's been giving him trivial lessons all this time. Rendon protests how ridiculous this idea is and expresses how hard it is to work for him, but Theo asks him directly if it was the Camellia Palace. Rendon can't believe that Theo found out. His facial features are pale with shock. Theo tells him with a cunning tone that it's good that he's being honest, and calmly asks Rendon if he knows what it feels like to have his arm cut off. And before he finishes the sentence, his sword was under Rendon's arm. The very next moment, Rendon's arm is separated from his body, while he still hasn't comprehended it yet. Everyone is in a state of great shock. How could a beginner do this to a mid-rank duelist? Rendon screams in extreme pain about his arm. He lifts his head again to look at Theo's face, cursing the damned fool who dares to do this. Theo advances toward him with power and confidence, looking down at him. With this, he's certain he's become stronger and can become even stronger. Rendon is going crazy, constantly telling himself that this is impossible and how this could happen. Theo finally says, in the Ragnar family who believe in the rule of the strong, you are the weakest.